The significance of urbanism in Mesopotamia. That means the importance of urban life in Mesopotamia. So the importance of urban life in Mesopotamia has reflected through the following features. And the first feature is based on the role of urban economy beyond the food production. People usually move to cities for various reasons. The most significant reason is based on economic. If a city economy is prospering, it attracts people from villages. The promise of jobs, comfort, glamour attract villagers to cities. And there are other factors, particularly during the occurrence of flood, famine, and exploitation of workers that pushes villagers to gather in cities. Now, what I mean to say is that the leading of an urban life is possible if any urban economy develops in providing employment scopes comprised of trade, manufacturers, crafts, and services other than food production, which could prove advantageous for the people to gather in it. And the second point is based on interaction among the urban and rural areas. Cities and villages are interrelated to each other when it comes to great economic productions. None of these can exist in isolation from each other. The city people remains no more self-sufficient with limited raw material, production and service. So thus it depends on the products and services of other people either living in villages or other cities. For example, farmers in villages are producers or givers of raw materials to all agro-based industries. The machines lying in industries remain idle without having a direct flow of raw material from farmers. So as long as the farmers in villages provide raw materials to the concerned industries, they could receive certain amount of money to support their livelihood. And here you would find the interaction among the urban and rural areas. So they have shown the continuous interaction among the urban and rural areas through examples. The carver of a stone seal requires bronze tools and colored stones for the seals that he is totally unaware where to obtain, as he is particularly specialized in fine carving and not in trading. So thus he can obtain all these by interacting with the city traders. So likewise, the bronze tool makers in villages, they personally do not go out to obtain the metals, bronze and tin from the urban areas. Thus rather obtain all these by interacting the suppliers of city traders. So the first image here shows the carver, whereas the second image shows the bronze axis. So even the bronze tools and stones are available for seal cutters by interacting the suppliers of city traders. And here you can also add the interaction among the urban areas rather than the interaction among the urban and rural areas. And next feature is based on the division of labor. The division of labor means dividing a job into many specialized parts with a single worker or a few workers assigned to each part. It boosts productivity and efficiency of the work, and it mostly applies for mass production. So hence the division of labor is a mark of urban life. For example, if you are specialized in an electrical engineering, you can do only as an electrical engineer. You may get some other jobs also, but your job post may remain on contractual basis. You would receive less salary and may face less scope for promotion. I also went through the same situation in my past life. Then, if you are specialized in teaching, you should work as a teacher and not as a nurse. So, thus in cities, the job has divided on the basis of its specialization in a particular field. And here you can find an example. The earliest cities in Mesopotamia date back to the Bronze Age, circa 3000 BCE. So bronze is an alloy of copper and tin. So using of bronze meant procuring these metals often from great distances. So thus there are particular people who usually work as procuring these metals from a great distances. Metal tools were essential for accurate carpentry, drilling bits, carving, stone seals, cutting shell for inlaid furniture, etc. So it shows that all these respective activities are handled by those people who are specialized in that concerned field. Even the Mesopotamian weapons were also of bronze. For example, the tips of the spears. Here you can find the image of the tips of spears. And these are the bronze axes. Bronze axes produced by bronze tool makers. And next you would find the worker hat. The worker hat. So it was named after the modern village of Varka, which is located close to the ancient city of Uruk. And it is also known as the Lady of Uruk. Lady of Uruk. So the woman's hat was created by carving in white marble at Uruk before 3000 BCE. So the eyes and eyebrows would perhaps have taken lapis lazuli, blue stone, and a shell which is white in color, and bitumen, which is black stone, inlays respectively. So there is a groove along or narrow cut along the top of the hat, which is perhaps kept for what? Wearing an ornament. So this is considered one of the world's famous piece of sculpture, admired for the delicate shaping of the woman's mouth, chin, and cheeks. And it was formed in a hard stone that would have been imported from a distant land. So thus, in the ancient Mesopotamian cities, the jobs, are divided on the basis of its specialization in a particular field. So hence, the division of labor is a mark of urban life. And next, we would move on to the requirement of an effective social organization setup. So the need of an effective social organization is required for organizing what? The purpose of trade and storage of the various items such as fuel, metal, various stones, wood, etc. arrived from many different places for the city manufacturers. Food grains and other food items are brought to the towns from the villages. So these food supplies need to be stored and further distributed to all buyers. The next feature is based on the maintenance of the written records. So the urban economy requires the maintenance of written records in order to keep track of its economic activities. For example, the products which are either collected from different cities or distributed to other villages, cities, or countries need to maintain the proper written records. The movement of goods into cities. So how are goods moved into cities? Goods are moved into cities through various means. It may be either through the means of water, air, rail, truck, or so forth. So in case there are several goods that are not locally available, under such a situation, what would you do? Would you place an order through online or what? Now my question is, can you think about as to how goods are moved into cities in the past? So when we talk about the Mesopotamian cities, in Mesopotamian cities, movement of goods into cities. So the food resources were plenty in Mesopotamia, but most parts of the south had lacked stones for tools, seals, and jewels. Wood of the Iraqi date palm and poplar, which is light, soft wood, and it is belonged to a willow family of plant. So poplar was not good enough for making carts, cart wheels, or boats, and there was lack of metals for tools, vessels, and ornaments. So what all Mesopotamians did was doing trade their abundant textiles and food resources for wood, copper, tin, silver, gold, shell, stones from Turkey and Iran or across the Gulf. So these latter regions had rich mineral resources but less scope for agriculture. The efficient transport system is also required for the urban development apart from craft, trade, and services. For example, the city economy ceases to work if the transportation takes immense time or too much feed of animals or to carry objects from one city to another by pack animals or bullock carts. So the canals and natural channels were also routes for goods transport between the large and small settlements. You can also find the importance of Euphrates as a world route through the urban development, particularly taking place in Mari. Mari, it is an important city, lies in northern Mesopotamia. And next, the transportation of goods. So the transportation of goods is undertaken through the help of what? Pack animals. Pack animals means camels, ass, donkey, yak. Pack animals carry objects on their back. Next one is bullock carts, boats, barges. So the cheapest means of transportation. The cheapest means of transportation is Mesopotamia is undertaken over water. For example, river boats. These are river boats, and this is these barges. Okay. For example, river boats or barges loaded with sacks of grains are pushed by the current of the river or wind. So barge means a long flat bottom boat for carrying goods on canals or rivers. Next, what is language? So the language has spoken sounds which convey certain meanings, and it is related to the sound as well as verbal communication, whereas the script has spoken sounds that are represented through visible signs. So each and every society has its own language in which certain spoken sounds convey certain meanings, and this is called as verbal communication, whereas the script or writing too is a part of verbal communication but in a different manner. When we talk about writing or script, we mean that spoken words are shown through visible signs or symbols. So around 3200 BCE, it was Sumerians, who developed the earliest writing called Cuneiform. A Sumerian, town grew into cities. The people needed a way to keep track of business transactions, ownership rights, and the government records. So cuneiform tablets were written in Sumerian language, and later the Akkadian language was used around 2400 BCE, as it was spoken by Sumerians, Akkadians, Babylonians and Assyrians alike. From about 1400 BCE, Aramaic language similar to Hebrew was spoken widely after 1000 BCE. So it is still in use in parts of Iraq. So the initial writing of Sumerians utilized pictures or symbols. For example, a drawing of a person's hat meant for the word hat. Over time, however, the writing of the Sumerians further developed to include sounds and meanings. And next, the development of writing system. So the Mesopotamia was the most well known for its writing system, which is called cuneiform. So the word cuneiform means what? Wedge-shaped. Wedge-shaped. Cuneiform is derived from Latin words cuneus meaning wedge, whereas forma meaning shape. So as a whole it means wedge-shaped. And these are the examples of cuneiform letters. The development of writing in Mesopotamia. So the writing or a script in Mesopotamia is shown in visible signs or symbols. And the first Mesopotamian tablets written around 3200 BCE, which contained pictures like signs, numbers, and there were about 5,000 lists of oxen, fish, bread, loaves, etc., which were brought into cities or distributed from the temples of Uruk, a city in southern Mesopotamia. So the sound of a sign of writing shows was not a single consonant or vowel, such as M or A, but rather it has syllables such as put or in, etc. So these signs had run into hundreds. So writing in the past was considered as what? A skilled craft of a scribe. And it was also considered as an enormous, intellectual achievements, which has reflected in visual form about the system of sounds of a particular language. And these are clay tablets indicating the signs or symbols of ox, wheat, grain, fish, and numbers or boat. The development of cuneiform 3000 BCE to 600 BCE. So these are the actual meanings of pictograph. These are pictographs. Circa 3000 BCE, year of barley. Ireland amjodoya soda. Remove Guntidwa barley. This one is the head and body of man. Some fish. Picture, sign or symbol of bird. Bowl of food, stream of water. Rotated position pictographs, circa 2800 BC. So these signs, symbols has written in a rotated form. And the last one is cuneiform signs, who started from circa 600 BC. Cuneiform signs are written in wedge-shaped letters. The method of writing on clay tablet. So what are methods of writing on clay tablet? So the initial stage of writing on clay tablet is began by preparing of the clay material. And this process is followed by wetting or moistening of the clay material, patting and smoothing of the clay tablet, And the actual writing began with the help of a reed cut obliquely by pressing wedge-shaped signs onto the smoothened surface when it is still moist. And this process is further followed by drying up of clay tablet in the sun. So after being completely dried of the clay tablet in the sun, the hardened tablet would ultimately become an indestructible object as pottery. The problem faced while preparing the clay tablet is that once the surface of a clay tablet dried, signs couldn't be pressed onto a tablet. So thus, writing was a skilled craft of a scribe, and it was considered as a great intellectual achievement. In the past, each transaction, however minor, required a separate, written tablet. For example, when a written record, such as the delivery of pieces of metal, had ceased to be connected, the tablet was thus thrown away. It was of no use in the future, right? So thus tablets occur in hundreds at all Mesopotamian sites. So due to the availability of these wealth sources, we are thus able to restudy the Mesopotamia in depth. Next, the language. The writing mainly started when society required to keep records of transaction. So by 2600 BCE, the language of writing became Sumerian. And later, the Sumerian writing was gradually replaced 2400 BCE by the Akkadian language. And finally, the cuneiform writing in the Akkadian language continued in use until the 1st century for more than 2000 years.